I'm Lynn Falk with Retail Works, and we're located in Milwaukee. We are a commercial interior design, display, and merchandising firm, and we also have satellite offices in Tucson and Northport, Florida. And I have over 30 years of experience working with main streets and downtown communities. So I feel like I'm fairly well equipped to be talking to the independent retailers and service businesses that are listening to this. And I'm excited to come to the 4 communities noted on the screen there in the week of October 9th. So I look forward to meeting with you all that have signed up for a consultation. And today we are looking at all sorts of things that have to do with storefront design, window displays, interior design. So it's a kind of a whirlwind. I do talk fast. I have a lot of photos to share, but I think it's really to lay the foundation for what you have to think about when it comes to creating a fabulous customer experience, from actually even looking at your website and then through the window displays, storefront design, all the way through the entire shopping journey. So I just want to quickly start with kind of a high-level conversation about how people shop in general, because this is sort of at the underlayment of all of what I do, and that is how the customer really processes information and ultimately makes a decision when they're in your store. And it's the left brain and the right brain that we really have to appeal to. So the left brain is activated when someone is deciding to go shopping for a product, whether it's to buy a car, to buy a coat, to buy a pair of shoes, a purse, whatever it might be. They decide based on where something's located, if they've been there or not, the experience they've had in the past, the products they know that they'll probably be exposed to, the different product lines. And then once they're in the store, that left brain quickly interprets the space. So it's all about kind of this rational thinking to make a decision. Even when someone walks in that front door, it's like, what are the departments and how do I get there? That's very left brain rational communication. But studies show that we make over 80% of our purchase decisions using our right brain. And our right brain is really, it controls the emotional side of us. And we are always trying to create this positive emotional connection with something. And that means in day-to-day, it means, how are you relating positively to your coffee shop experience, or getting in your car, or making a decision about buying something for your home. So all of the store design decisions you make and store displays, they really ultimately need to relate to the right brain, your customer's right brain. And to bear it down to the basics, it's really saying, how do you make someone feel better? How do you make them feel like you've made them smile, you've made them laugh, you made them fall in love with something? It's all under the feel good umbrella. So that's what we're going to be thinking about today in looking at some of these slides, is the initial left brain making a decision on whether they want to stay and shop the store. And then once they start shopping, how can we engage that emotional right brain? And every successful retail business creates this strong visual identity to, one, attract attention. So we're always trying to attract attention, whether it's, again, to your storefront, your window displays, or focal point displays within your store. And then we want to engage them. So we want to get someone to literally interact with a product or learn about something. So through some signage, or maybe there's some entertainment on a flat screen. But how are you engaging that customer? And then creating that positive, memorable experience so that they want to come back. So those are the 3 things we want to think about: attract attention, engage, and then positive experience. And I can talk all day long about good merchandising and display and a really good store design, but I also want to say it's just one part of running a successful business. And these are all the things that I look at when I do audit a space. So I'm always looking at why are you in business? What's your mission or your purpose? What does your logo and your brand look like and feel like? Where are you located? What does the storefront look like? What are your hours of operation? Since COVID, we've seen a lot of people that have become very casual with their business hours, and you can really lose customers when you don't have consistent hours. No one wants to be frustrated and get up to a store and then realize, oh, they're closed today, or oh, they closed early today. And I understand a lot of that has to do with lack of help, but we need to be consistent in our hours. So if you don't have a lot of help, let's just shorten those days or hours, but be consistent with them and make sure you put it on your social media and website. Anyway, the right product assortment and not having too much or too little. The price point dictates a lot. I mean, if you have a discount oriented store, that's a completely different mindset in how you design and display than when you have a very high end product line. Of course, service has to be good. You need to have something that sets you apart. So your uniqueness factor. We'll talk a little bit about the layout, and then of course, design, merchandising, and display today. And you have to change as the market changes. I was just on the phone with a prospect prior to this call, and he said, irrelevancy equals bankruptcy in retail. And I said, I am using that phrase. I think that's so accurate. You have to remain relevant. And today, retailers have to, I say, stand on your head, do things completely, almost like inside out, things that you've never thought of doing before. Let's try them now, because the competition out there is so much with big box and online that to get people into a bricks and mortar store, sometimes you really have to do a lot of extra things, but it pays off in the long run. And then having a good attitude and having digital presence. So I think with COVID, the one thing that came out of it, one of the good things is that people got an online presence and they really worked on whether it's an online store or their website or their social media platforms. Okay, so let's talk quickly about omni-channel retailing. And this is so important because sometimes the website, and I touch on this because it's a visual thing. You know, people will go to the website. This left brain might go to the website first to see what you're all about and say, hey, do I really want to go to this store or not? And, you know, maybe there's something fun on the website that will engage the right brain, which is also important before they even get to your store. So you never want to frustrate people. You want to give the information that you know they're going to be looking for very quickly. So we always said that those frequently asked questions should be within one click. Hours of operation, the policies, online store, and special events or pickups and deliveries. And then even more important is, are you selling your bricks and mortar locations? So I want to see photos of the outside, maybe photos of the inside, and an About Us page. So I want to learn a little bit more about the history of your store or your own history, or what would be compelling for me to come and buy from you. And we've all heard that the millennials are really interested in information. They're interested also in paying for something that comes from a place that's locally done, locally made, or locally operated, or again, sustainable, and the history behind the product might be very interesting. So let's make sure we have photos and an About Us page, and that's starting to engage the right brain. Okay, so most of today I'm talking about visual identity and things that we can see because this is a slideshow. And over 80% of our communication is through our sense of sight, our eyes. So we'll talk about some elements and principles of design in the next couple slides, but I also want to touch on how important the sense of smell is. And a lot of times, because you've been coming into your store day after day, you don't smell an odor anymore. You know, you might say, well, that's just how my store smells. Well, odors can be really a turnoff. And in the first few seconds that someone walks into a store, odor can be a thing that turns people off. So, you know, I always say, let's neutralize the odor first and then look at bringing an aroma in. And the aroma should always be a natural aroma. So like essential oils or some spices in a crock pot, or a cinnamon stick in a crock pot of water. They do have some interesting, nice, almost humidifying atomizers that, you know, can take some essential oils and then put that in the air, but it should never be too strong. But a lot of studies have been done on that people will spend a little bit more time in a space that smells nice. And of course, a lot of the larger department stores and hotel chains and casinos all have signature scents that people respond positively to. And there's been a lot of study behind that. So people react strongly to odors, and then they also are accepting of a nice aroma. And people feel that they haven't spent as much time in the store as they actually have when they are smelling a nice aroma. And then the sense of hearing, sense of sound here that we hear when we're walking through a store and shopping, all of us, the majority of us, over 90% of us are positively affected by music while shopping. It's the 9% that aren't is usually because the music was not appropriate for that particular target market, or it was too loud, or it wasn't appropriate for the product line or the target market, period. So, but it is important to make sure you match the type of music, the tempo of the music with your target market and their shopping behaviors. Sense of touch, very important. You can increase sales up to 50% when you get people to interact with displays. So we want to think about creating displays that people want to touch and get involved with. And then finally, the sense of taste. You might be, in a retail space that does not sell anything consumable, but by offering maybe some baked cookies or wrapped mints at the counter, cup of coffee, a mimosa, a bottle of water, anything that helps, as we say, break bread to make friends with your customers. People will actually feel a little more obligated to purchase when they've indulged in some sort of a treat. But again, if you don't want any messes, then just even wrapped mints at the counter can be good. All right, so your brand. I always start by looking at, the big picture. I look at a website, I look at the brand, I look at that visual identity, and I say, is this intriguing? Does it really support who you are? Does it reflect your store's personality, your uniqueness factor? I mean, your brand is your story. So we want to make sure your colors, your logo, your tagline, everything that anyone's going to touch, see, and feel falls under that umbrella of your brand. And of course, the first thing people are going to see after your website would be your storefront. So I always say you can judge a book by its cover when people are driving by or walking by your storefront. And I do have handouts that Robin with the State of Iowa will make available. So this is all on the handout, this checklist for your storefront. These are the things you have to think about. How can you improve them, or have you even thought about them? Do they look good? Are they reflective of your brand? I understand if you don't own your building, sometimes it's difficult to do certain things to the facade, but hopefully you can convince your landlord that he or she could do it, or gives you permission to do it. The difference in how people are going to judge your store before they even ever walk inside your store. And never underestimate the basics of just keeping the storefront clean. That means, washing your windows, replacing burned out light bulbs. It is a slippery slope to ugly-dom, because a lot of store owners, business owners, they park in the back and they come in the back door and they don't really see the front. They should go outside. You all should be going outside and looking at your front every single day that you're open. And because of COVID, a lot of things started happening out in parking lots, on sidewalks, in parking areas off of streets. We were, able to cordon off certain areas for pickups and deliveries, but that has sort of continued. And if your community allows it, it's great to bring out greenery, more benches or tables and chairs or umbrellas or flags, anything to, again, bring the inside out to attract attention from a distance. And as long as it reflects your brand, it can be a really good thing. Now, I've heard this stat that curb appeal accounts for 70% of first-time sales, and I couldn't agree more. This happens to be a store in a small community in Wisconsin, and I'm telling you, the owner is a great buyer. She has great merchandise inside, but you would never know it from this outside. This is just plain, bland, doesn't say fashion, from a sense of color or texture or excitement. Even the window displays are dark. So, this is a poor example of really bringing a brand onto your storefront. Whereas these are very lively and have come to life. We've got different textural things. We have things that protrude, colors. Now, of course, this on the right, this doesn't really have colors as much as it's just white objects. But they're objects, they're hanging. I've got a chair here and a table. This is an interior design firm out in California. She brings this bike out, she puts her portfolio out. Maybe it could be in a digital format, as long as you're in a place that no one's going to take the iPad away. And of course, restaurants now have been doing this since COVID too. A lot of outdoor seating. But I even like the second floor up here, because a lot of times, decorating the second story, people see that first before they even see the first story as they're driving into town or from a distance. So whether it's bringing some greenery up there, they have lights across the roof, and then a flag outside. This is just, I love the fact that they took half of a canoe and put it on their facade. Also bench and planters and some nice, clean, clear signage on the windows telling people what they sell, an open sign. And if you have a back door, don't forget to decorate it like your front door. So this is a small store that is very long and narrow, like a lot are, but they have the Adirondack chairs painted bright colors, and they had these little pinwheels that blow in the wind. They had paper lanterns in here. It's hard to see on the left, but you can see them on the right. So this picture on the right is the back entrance. The one on the left is the front. Same flags, same logo, Adirondack chairs, open signs, really brings that back alley entrance to life. And then here's another one that is so fun in the alley. On the right is the back side, this right photo. So big alley, and these big oversized painted penguins with the bow ties, the red bow ties and the red door. It really makes people smile. Now, this is engaging the right brain. It makes people smile. And then on the front side, they have the bow tie for the signage. And then just some signature looks where we're taking, these are 3 old gas stations, and now you can see this brand that's come through color, shape, texture. It's just, they're charming brands that people will recognize and remember. And even, even the sides of buildings, you may be doing something at the storefront, but if the sides of your buildings are also very visible, how can we dress those up? Of course, murals are big these days, and I love that a lot of communities are embracing bringing artists in or utilizing local artists. This picture on the right is called the 205. It's a coffee bar in Holland, Michigan, and this has become a signature piece for them. And it's really become an identifiable mural, these kind of brown and white sepia tone florals. And then, of course, they have the seating area out here too. And then they have a garage door that can open up. And just some simple paint, painting a sidewalk here in front of a florist during festivals gets people to really notice the floral shop in town. Again, painting alleyways, and if you don't have artists in town to do something as extravagant as these ladies, well, then just paint maybe some stripes. I mean, at least that brings some brightness to the downtown or behind you or to the side. And then look at areas on your building that could perhaps have your brand color. This one on the left, this is this underside of this sort of soffit area. This is a wine bar that opened up, and they painted that ceiling red, which is the most attention getting of all of the colors. And then they hung the patio lights, and then they have some recessed down lights. But this really draws people in to their wine bar. And then this one on the right, Sassy Girl, pink is her color, her brand color, and it really pops with the black and white facade. And then she had pink florals in the planters. And don't underestimate the power of touch with the actual door handles. So Jeweler had a metal fabricator create the rings on the left, and then I just loved this for this bee is a wood bee for a bank. All right, so now let's just talk about windows, because that's a big part of a lot of storefronts. And to me, it's incredibly valuable real estate. A good window display is like they're the ambassadors for your brand on the street. And they should be your silent salespeople out there communicating your brand, products, and services. And let's delight people. Let's engage that right brain. And always think about creating a display not only for pedestrian traffic, but auto traffic. So if you're set back a little bit of the ways and you've got traffic going by 25 miles an hour or bike traffic, how can we attract attention with your window displays from a distance or from someone walking across the street? Always develop a theme, illuminate it well, and change it regularly. so that people are always waiting to see what you're going to do next with your windows. And these elements and principles of design, to me, they are just invaluable tools. You probably have read about them in Art 101 back in high school or college. But elements are what you do with the product, and principles are what you do. Elements describe three-dimensional tangible products. Principles are what you do with them. So the most attention-getting element of design is color. And I said of color, red is the most attention-getting. And then principles, like when you contrast something from its surroundings, or you repeat the shape or size of something, or movement, you're going to really get a very strong visual response. And Crate & Barrel and Anthropologie are two of my favorite stores to tell people to go and just see and research their window displays, because they do such a good job. But just even in this Crate & Barrel picture I have, this photo, I mean, they have a simple backdrop, some pedestals, one painted yellow, and they have one line of product that's reflected, the pattern's reflected in that backdrop. But look how simple this is, and a simple sign, well lit. They don't have to be complicated. Less is often more. Geometrics are your friend. If you can create triangles, that's good. Odd numbers, if you have mannequins, do like 1, 3, or 5 mannequins. Always have an attention, get focal point, and I'll be showing photos that point these things out. And bigger is better unless you have a lot of something little. And again, we'll have pictures coming up. And I said in the beginning, you know, maintain your storefront. We also don't want to have dirty window displays or dirty glass or burnt out light bulbs. So when you're doing your window displays, make sure we first clean. And you know, if you do have a lot of window glare, and this is a problem in half of the businesses out there on Main Street, they either have a tinted glass or they don't have an awning, and they face west or east. And there's often an issue with people that even know, are they open? So I always say, 1, get a neon open sign. 2, use white or cream colored or light blue vinyl on the windows to communicate a message or put the logo out there. And then always illuminate your displays 3 times brighter than any of the lighting around it. So in the store, because you really want those displays to shine bright, especially if there's a gray film on it. And sometimes if the sunlight is so strong, you have to put a gray window film on it just to cut that brightness that's coming in. Okay, so we're going to look at some examples of window displays. And this is this beautiful, iconic, historic landmark building in a small community in Wisconsin. And these window displays to me are like amazing real estate. But other than that, they have a FedEx office there and maybe do something with computers, I'm really confused at what they do. And it would have been a great opportunity to create window displays that attract attention from across the street. Here's another example of something I don't like, and I see often, are retailers that think they have to put everything, one of everything they own in their windows to attract attention, because otherwise people don't think you sell it. The problem is the left brain literally shuts down. It's like, this is too much, I don't have time. The brain is lazy. It doesn't want to have to sort through thinking what they're looking at. And this is just too much stuff. There's no theme, there's no real composition, there's no focal point. So we want to get away from that sort of thing. These, however, are clean, organized. They use the elements and principles of design. We've got the contrast with the backdrops, with the front items. And sometimes you don't even have to put, this is a pharmacy, a small community and a small mom and pop pharmacy, that they change these out 5 times a year. And people came in because of the windows, not because they were showing aspirin on a shelf in the window or greeting cards. This is more just to create a theme, make people feel happy, understanding it's a change of season. And people would wait for their next window display to be changed. So they became conversation pieces in the downtown community. Again, simple, clean, look at the use of color, contrast. This left one is just basically, it's a restaurant supply company. So they did popcorn, bar stools, and like tickets for when you go to the movie theater, and a red piece of fabric for the backdrop. This bakery, these are wrapped boxes and fabric and wrapping paper as props, and then the urn. but black and white with the contrasting green. Just clean and simple with a theme. And then again, remember I said, let's make people laugh, let's make people feel good. Who doesn't smile when you see a bed on a wall or mannequin legs coming out of a box? And movement, I said, was one of the most attention-getting principles of design. So in New York, I would say over 50% of the storefronts have some sort of movement or video. So on the left here, we've got a vertical video screen. This is these tires, these wheels actually turn. And this one on the right, these pinwheels, there's a fan up above in the ceiling grid to move those pinwheels. And also, if you make something, fabricate something, and it's a busy weekend or a festival weekend, see if you can do it in the window. You can sort of see this woman here. She's monogramming shirts in the window, and just having that movement. If you're a restaurant, when you seat people in the window, it makes the restaurant look better. Like it's got people there, people are giving it business, they must like it. And people relate to other people in doing things in a window. So again, the use of color red, so powerful. Look from across the street, would you not be drawn to this red box of a window? And then the repetition of mannequin hands and purses, and over here, mannequin hands and socks. Just something as simple as that can be a fun window display to attract attention. And then using color, again, colored pedestals here, these blue pedestals, and then just a blue backdrop. And then over here, just using vinyl and traffic paint. Even here on this little bumper out sticking up here, they even did a little yellow there. Again, color, shape, repetition, and we like layered looks. So you have a three-dimensional object, and then maybe you have some vinyl on the windows. Here again, vinyl on the windows for the blue on the bottom, and then a message, let your love set sail. And for the walk-by pedestrian traffic, they actually have some of the branded bags, boxes, and rings for this Kessler's Diamonds store for walk-by traffic. It's at eye level. But from a distance, you see these big colorful sails that are branded with Kessler's. But simple. Again, vinyl, three-dimensional props, and some messaging. And this one on the right is using the Kessler boxes as the tops of the tulips. Hopefully now you're getting the idea of sort of this building up a display, having a theme, good composition, and the use of these elements and principles of design. And then just like I said, paint earlier on a storefront, but paint with vinyl. Look how fun it makes this storefront pop. Just a little storefront. This is another Kessler store. They were set way back from the street. It was a very busy street. So by using oversized vinyl, this is actually their ribbon that we just blew up and put in the window. People now are definitely aware of the store's presence. Otherwise, it just sort of disappeared. And then taking vinyl, I think this is so fun too, on the outside of the glass, but they put it on the pedestals, the floor, up the wall, and then on the ceiling. So your eye follows that line into the store and through the window display. And if you have really big windows and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do all of these windows. There's just too much space. Well, use vinyl to create smaller, like shadow boxes that all you have to do then maybe is put a couple dressmaker forms. Now I wish they had one in this one on the right for Anthropologie, because usually they do things in odd numbers, but should be just like one main mannequin there. Okay, and then think about props too. Any props you use in your window, make sure they reflect the same quality as the price points or the quality of the products you're selling. But think out of the box. You can rent and borrow furnishings from other retailers and maybe making them. Go to the fabric store to get cheap backdrops. And really, we always stress having some sort of ceiling grid to hang things from. And you can get these for, like the ones on the right, you can get them 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, white or black. They're like $50. The one on the left is a little more fancy. And natural pieces can be used too, just to hang things in your window. Again, keeping things simple. Paper. These are paper tulips hung upside down. These are basically colored acrylic with pine boards as the sticks. Big and simple, using swings to house larger furniture pieces. A tailor that has an oversized scissors and measuring tape. And this is where I said, if you don't have something oversized, then a lot of a little of something. These are good projects to do in the slow months of January or February, where maybe you take light bulbs and you paint them, or you cut out a ton of snowflakes, but making a statement with a lot of a little things. Anthropologie is known for doing this. This one on the left are the paint sticks, and then just taking marshmallows and using filament line. And also creative use of materials. On the left, if you know of an HVAC contractor that's got some old ductwork to use, that will attract attention. Or on the right, this is just string that's acting as rain. And seasonal props, you know, I kind of want to get away from sometimes the typical trees that go into windows. I mean, that's fine, but I love these mailboxes that they have, and they're at different heights. Kessler's has that, as you saw in a previous photo, the red Kessler's branded bag. Well, they just put different arrangements in each season, and that's in their window. Trees, like I said, don't have to be the regular green artificial trees. You can make two-dimensional trees and cover them with vinyl and then score them so they sort of look like three-dimensional trees. Look at the different ways you can make Christmas trees or holiday trees. And sometimes communities will have branded vinyl. So all the storefronts can have one element. They can pick one element that they like that helps tie them in with the entire community. So this was just one example, but I liked that option too, because then everyone's sort of part of the holiday theme. And then branding props, you know, this is this jewelry store again, making dresses out of their bags and their tissue paper and boxes. And then just using vinyl to turn it into a Valentine window. And mannequins can be your friend. I know sometimes they can be creepy, but some of the better mannequins that are available on the market, and sometimes you can get them used. But because, you know, there are so many, whether it's Lululemon and a lot of these yoga and workout places, there are all different types of mannequins to choose from. This is actually a vacant storefront where we took bits and pieces of mannequins that were left behind in stores that had vacated the premise and spray painted them and just created kind of a fun window to fill a vacant storefront. Just again, kind of something fun for a shoe store to do. And always illuminate your storefront and or your window displays so that they attract attention. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. So these are some decorative ways. And if you don't have track light from above, then you can sometimes put track on the sides of the window or go to even Home Depot and get those lights so that people shine up on large trees in the holidays and the floor, you know, outside, or even they decorate with light. You can put those on the floor of a window display, or you can drop down some bulbs to bring some light in. It's also a decorative element. But just look how light pops. And stores should be illuminated and on a timer until the traffic on the street slows down. So if you've got theater, bars, restaurants open late, you want to make sure that you're illuminated until it's quiet out there. And this Kessler store even has a moving sign, so it rotates it's projected onto the sidewalk. Finally, before we move into the interior of the stores, I just want to talk about signage quickly. We always want to make sure your logo is visible to auto traffic and then pedestrians. So that generally means two signs, one high and one on the glass, and then your store hours, website address, and social media icons, and then possibly some signage that notes products or services offered. So here this computer store has their high illuminated sign for drive-by traffic, and then for walk-by traffic, they have it literally on the door and the tops of the windows. And also some of the things that they do, and on their door, they have their hours and a phone number, and certainly, again, websites would be appropriate at this point. Again, some more good examples of how you can use vinyl for some nice signage. And obviously make sure that the community is okay with whatever signs you put up, because a lot of communities have different sign codes and regulations. And I also like to get kind of funky with some signs, and I love what these retailers did. Rock, paper, scissors, they actually had some three-dimensional pieces on there. And then the blind pig. This is in Fort Collins, Colorado. Oh, excuse me. Yes, Fort Collins, Colorado. So great attention getter. And again, make sure people want to know that you're available 24/7. So point them with QR codes or note your different platforms. And if possible, try to get away from Scotch tape. Paper ends up curling, or people don't put them up very well. They end up being crooked, they fade. So try to get some nice, maybe acrylic sign holders with some suction cups. And then we also have this roll of clear cling vinyl that you can cut out to the shape of a window or the glass in a door. And you put it on, and then you can just pull it back, put a sign in, and then flatten it out again. And then sidewalk signs, you know, if they're permitted, I think they're wonderful ways to prime people before they even get in your store. And the word priming comes from the advertising industry, where you tell people ahead of time they're going to be happy before they even get into your store. And there have been studies that say, you know, when people see and read certain words, it actually does plant a seed to make them feel that way. I have more studies I could talk about on that, because it's, to me, a fascinating theory, and it works. Okay, so now we're going to go into the interior of your space. And again, we want to be thinking about your product lines, your target market, your brand, what's your store personality, what are you all about? Really understand who you're selling to, not just demographics, but psychographics. Like, where do your customers vacation? Are they big spenders? What kind of cars do they drive? You know, and then how do they shop? Are they lingering people, or they want to get in and get out? You know, all these decisions regarding display and design come back to who you're selling to and what you're selling. And a well-branded interior covers a lot of things. We have to look at flooring. You know, carpets will slow people down, and hard floors, whether it's linoleum, vinyl, hardwood, laminate floors, people walk faster on those floors. So maybe there are areas we want to put area rugs to slow someone down. And then walls, what are the colors on your walls? Do you want to put have an accent wall? How high are your ceilings? Do we need to have acoustical ceiling tiles, or is it an exposed ceiling? And how far down do we have to drop your lighting then? Fixtures and cabinetry, does it all work together? Furniture, does it all match or coordinate? Or if your theme's eclectic, that's okay, as long as you follow that theme throughout the entire space. The upholstery or fabrics and decorative accessories, they all have to be working together to support your brand. Here's an example of a really fun boutique, shoe boutique, and this woman knew her customer. Her customer loves this kind of look, loves the fanciness. These are high-end shoes. People are willing to spend the money to be in this environment to pay for really well-designed shoes. But look at everything, all the decisions that had to be made on every element and finish in here went towards that shopping experience. Completely different shopper experience, but a jewelry store in New Orleans, every single thing was thought through, whether it's color, position of windows into the goldsmith's box, the shape of the mirror here at the end, the placement of the logo, the end cap towers here. They even do have usually cookies here at this concierge counter when you walk in. And a completely other kind of brand. This is Road America. So if you're a race car enthusiast, you know of Road America in Elkhart, Wisconsin. Their racetrack is an iconic shape. So you can see my cursor here. They actually sell the shape, but we also put it in the concrete floor. And then this is actually a ceiling piece in the shape of this racetrack, and it has LED lighting. So very iconic branded store, and kind of an industrial store. And a lot of the fixtures were actually made out of items that would be used in a pit crew would use. So very industrial looking and industrial made. So inside, you know, we want to find out where our displays should be, whether they're in showcases, end caps, on walls, nesting tables. these display areas, we want to identify them and change them regularly. And oftentimes they'll have a prop, they have a theme, always will support the brand, and they should be changed often. And these focal point displays, I always say the feet follow the eyes. So in a typical 1,000-square-foot store like this, wherever these stars are considered focal point displays. So when someone walks in, and we give about that 8-foot transition zone to kind of get their bearings, and then they can kind of look around the store. That left brain is already saying, oh, what departments do I want to go to? But then the right brain is looking for a fun emotional connection. And this is where maybe this nesting table up front would be a focal point display. You want them lower up front and then get higher with them throughout the shopping journey. So this might be a countertop display here, and then a wall display, and then a wall display back here, a flat screen with some movement on it, another countertop display. Maybe this is a mannequin on a platform with a decorative wall behind it. And so even the corners of the stores, people are coming around this racetrack, I can still go to these corners, and they might be elevated, interesting mannequins again, or displays of some sort. So what are focal point displays? I had mentioned, nesting tables, end caps. They can be floor vignettes, the walls themselves, groups of pedestals. But now look at these photos. So you walk into a store, where are focal points? Where is the brand? Where is the theme? Where is composition? This is where the brain shuts down. The left brain says, you know what? Can't deal with this. Too much. I can't even figure it out. I'm out of here. So that left brain has to first make sense of the space and then identify these focal point displays, and then the feet will follow the eyes. So a theme display like this might be up front and would be a focal point display. So someone comes up to this, and then they're going to find hopefully another focal point display another 15, 20 feet away from it to go for the eyes to go to. This is an upfront display. So this before here on the left is kind of a walk-by display. On the right, they turned it into an information display. You can still see through it, but they have a nice backdrop on the lower half, and they just made it simple. And then they have that 3, the odd number of the tires there. Focal point display could be an interesting mannequin sitting on a nesting table. Showcase backdrops in jewelry stores are big focal point displays. You don't put them on every backdrop of every case, but just where you want the feet to take someone, because the eyes will see it and then the feet will follow. Could be something elevated from off the floor or hanging from the ceiling that's going to draw someone to the back. Could be a video on a wall up high. Could be light fixtures, could be a neon sign. Could be vignettes, these floor vignettes where they have the area rug, 3 mannequins, a video display, elevation, a backdrop here on the right, a chair, some furniture. Might be some oversized fun element. This is an 8-foot tall fire hydrant in a pet store with a recessed video screen. This is a restaurant where the chef will come out from the kitchen and pick herbs from this greenery display. Might be taking a column and wrapping it completely, illuminating it, electrifying it so you could illuminate displays and making like literally a 360 fixture out of it. It might be something hanging from the ceiling that then drops your eyes down to the table display. Might be an accent wall that literally just pulls you back into the space. Might be some artwork on the wall. And this is a small store that did, I wish she had maybe framed these a little bit better, but these are all her customers. She took pictures of her customers, went to, I think, maybe Kinko's, FedEx, Kinko's, or Costco, I can't remember, and enlarged them and put them on the wall. And these customers come in, their friends come in to see them, and she changes them out depending on the season and the new lines that are coming in. Flat screens with videos I already mentioned, but also illuminated shadow boxes. So from a distance, you'd see the video, but right up front, you're gonna be drawn to these shadow boxes. And I just love this. I think this is one of these really fun displays. These are gold chains that are coming out of faucets. So it's very tactile and very different. And again, anytime you can get people to interact with the product, so big hides of leather, people love to smell them and touch them and learn about them. Over here, we've got this DeWalt display, and they actually have an outlet here, so you could try out the tools. And the more people try things out and try them on, the more likely they're going to buy. You can increase sales up to 50%. Again, this is Coach bags on the left. It just shows some of the different items like buttons and threads that go into it. It's a fun focal point display. This is a bedding store on the right. And these are all the different types of materials that go into the pillows and the bedding. Having maybe a trend wall or an interactive Pinterest board. Again, anytime you can get someone you educate them, inform them. These are all focal point displays and interactive. Again, interactive technology, taste testing. We talked about the sense of taste. This is olive oil. Olive oil is huge in certain communities, and taste testing is a big thing. Same thing with vinegars. And never forget, like a selfie or an Instagrammable area, that is also considered a focal point. So people, a lot of clients and people who hear me speak say, oh, these are all fabulous, but I don't have the time or the money. And I say, well, here's what you have to do. If you create a calendar for the year, so even start now for 2024, and you say, these are my focal point displays and my window displays that I need to change, and you put it on the calendar, depending on the season or if you're having an event. So you get it on the calendar when it goes up and when it comes down. And then you come up with the themes. You say, okay, I know for sure we want to do a winter theme or winter coats or whatever. So you come up with the idea for the themes and the products that you're going to showcase. Then get a budget, even if it's $50 a month. Just put some money aside every month for display, and that can go up as you become more successful. But start low, where it's a manageable amount, and then assign who's going to do it. So you say, I've got a really creative staff person, or I've got a creative daughter who's, going to be home from college and she's studying something in the world of creative design or art. Or maybe there's a high school or a theater program where someone would be willing to help you create displays. And maybe you do it with a bartering system. You give them a certain percentage off for coming in and helping you. And then, so if you do those three things right there, you're more apt to get it done because it becomes part of your system. And then always photograph what you do, post it on the social media platforms, and then evaluate if it was successful or not and what you would do different next time. Now, merchandising is different than putting displays together. Merchandising is really what you do with your fixtures, with all of your products. You're stocking your fixtures. And we're usually doing it according to size, style, color, type, or vendor. And we want to pay attention to critical mass, like not having too many products on the floor so things are falling off the fixtures, or not enough where you have empty shelves. And we want to rotate merchandise periodically. So here are a couple good examples of using elements and principles of design for different types of fixtures and floor fixture displays and wall displays. But just look at how those elements and principles of design are at work. And an end cap, which can be a focal point display, but can also be something that you have to really merchandise well. So I love the coordinating of the chocolate, the marshmallows, and the graham crackers here. But look how they've soldiered all the product. It's face forward, no empty spots. It's not too full. It's just right. But here is an example of too much going on. Tablecloths, patterned tablecloths, horizontal slat wall, vertical fixture boards here on the right, a lot of mishmash of different types of products. It's really, again, left brain's like, I can't figure this out, too much, shutting down. And again, I'm all for negative space because I'm a believer of less is more, but sometimes you can have too much negative space. This is a perfect place for a nice sign or a graphic or a quote or a shelf with some items on display. And I would take the satin wrap and bring it up on a table so it's not on the floor, because we don't like product on the floor, especially consumable products, any kind of food. We do like fully merchandised shelves, and we like to start 18 inches off the floor, and people can reach up to 7 feet high. So that's sort of the key area for merchandising. Again, try not to have empty shelves. Try to get product face forward and fill in. even if you have to put some empty boxes, wrapped boxes to fill some of that space. This is critical mass. Now, granted, we're getting close to the floor here, but just because of the way it's merchandised, I probably wouldn't have done this lower row of mitts down here. But on a gondola like this, you do have a shelf that's got about a 6-inch rise. So on this floor fixtures, it's okay. And then having a mirror at eye level, but look how you've got this focal point display up high to draw you over. And then look how everything is nicely merchandised and coordinating. And containers for impulse items is also really important, because studies have shown that if you have like containers, like all square or all acrylic or all wood or all baskets, you'll sell more. So try not to have 5 different types of containers when you're selling impulse items. You can use furniture as fixtures, but just be careful that you don't get too high. People can't reach that high. And just be consistent that you also have your other fixtures painted gray in the space. This is actually a shower door curtain on the left and an old screen door on the right, which can serve as interesting fixtures if you've got one of those more eclectic kind of general stores. Slat wall on the left comes in more than just beige or white, 3-inch on center. So step out of the box and get creative with 4-inch or 5-inch or 6-inch or cubed wall or wallpaper it. Do some fun things with it. And pegboard, the one in the middle here, this is a chalkboard pegboard. So they were actually able to do a little image and a sign on it. And magnetic wall is great if you can afford it, because it's so easy to change out, but it is an expensive option. But Rubbermaid garbage bins are not fixtures, so please don't use those. So then we're going to look at signage quickly, lighting, because I know we only have about 10 minutes left. So signage, lighting, customer amenities, and checkout. So I'm going to go through these really quickly, but design criteria is really important for your signage. You can actually train your customers to see and read signs if you have the design criteria determined for each type of sign, so that your regular customers that come in, if your promotional signs are always going to be the same size, same color, same font, same sign holder, they'll immediately go, oh, they've got a promotion going on, or a product and benefit sign. It's always going to be designed the same way. And it keeps sign pollution and sign clutter out of your store. And never do a handwritten sign unless you are a cafe or a deli and you're changing menu daily, and you have really good penmanship. Otherwise, it cheapens your brand and cheapens your store. So think about that left brain in the beginning when the person walks in the store. What are the departments and how fast can I get to that department? You know, are these signs branded? Are they easy to read? Are they simple? Are they well done? And if you have a huge store that's 1 or 2 stories or maybe 5,000 square feet, maybe you have to have some signs up front or maps that people can take with them, or a QR code with a map for your phone to help them throughout the space. And that omni-channel retailing, get people back involved with your digital. Again, QR codes to maybe get a coupon right then and there, something to get them back to your website. And hashtag. And I just love this sign because it's so funny. This was actually on a Google review, and this shoe store put this up by their checkout counter. Just love that. Again, focal point signage or moving signage, that's projections on your floor that you could change out when people enter the store perhaps, or on a wall. And if you do have a good story, tell it. Do your history wall, do a history timeline. Talk about how you train your salespeople if they have to go through a program. Maybe a map of where people are coming from. Get people involved with who you are. Put your brand on your ceiling. And brand your staff. Make sure that they are in a nice top or apron or have at least a name tag. I consider that part of signage too. So lighting, super essential. I'm going to definitely be looking at lighting in all of your stores. And I feel like a lighting drug dealer because I carry lamps or bulbs in my trunk. So I can actually change out some track heads and show you what the right kind of lamp is or bulb is if you don't have it. And it should be a 3500 Kelvin, a minimum of 1000 lumens. So that's probably the two most important things you have to think about for your track lighting, because we want to highlight your display areas and your wall displays 3 times brighter than the surrounding areas, and even in your window displays, as I said earlier. And always have multiple light sources. Don't just have fluorescent lights in your ceiling. Then if you have those, add track or bring in floor lamps or table lamps. So these are just showing different layers of lighting, different types of lighting to really illuminate the store, make it interesting, and get people to want to walk and shop the store. Customer amenities. So these are little things that you can do for customers that make them feel special and may have you stand out from your competition, or they make it reasonable for why they want to come in. You know, another reason why they want to come in and shop at your brick and mortar. So private consultation areas, a seating area. It doesn't have to be this elaborate, but I just think this is so striking. I just love it. Maybe it's a beverage bar, a little snack bar. Maybe they're extravagant for bigger stores, but maybe it's just a countertop space that you utilize. Place for kids to play, place for husbands to sit and be entertained, and restrooms. If you have a restroom that you let your customers use, it has to be spectacular. It has to be beautiful, it has to be fun. This is a cafe, and cafes often have really good ones. But they had an artist who did their banners out in the cafe itself. The artist also did their bathrooms all the way on the ceiling. And one bathroom was black with white, and the other one was white with black flowers. Just stunning. And they're conversation pieces. This one on the left was from, I think, Red Wing shoes, and the one on the right was the cafe, and they used these old typewriters on the wall. And this one's just darn cute, especially if it was a pet store. So finally, people are ready to check out. You know, we've gone through the whole customer journey. Your checkout really needs to be spectacular. I mean, even if it's a small desk, it needs to look like the checkout area. It needs to have your logo there and maybe a list of the services that you offer, because a lot of times people don't know everything you do. This is an example of a really bad checkout counter, but this is what I see a lot of. No logo, uncoordinated displays, their work area is a mess. This makes me think this person doesn't really know how to operate the business, like they're doing it off the seat of the pants. And they may not be, but that's the impression. So think hard about what that last impression is at your checkout counter. You know, and is there something cool where there's lighting or a cool custom wall covering? And this is a flag store. Look at this flag. This becomes an Instagrammable moment for this retailer. People stand and take pictures of that flag. And again, post your services. Tell people what you do. And packaging. It's also a great sales thing for you. When it's walking down the sidewalk, people will see your name. And if you have an identifiable color that you want to have out there on the streets, put it on your packaging. And as people exit the store, bring them back around maybe to your website and thank them for shopping. So just in the nick of time, I think that's just about an hour. So I know I went through a lot, but I'm looking forward to coming in and auditing your spaces and giving you some great ideas to get you to become even more successful retailers.
Great. Well, thank you, Lynn. Appreciate all that information. We encourage all of you to share this video with your retailers and those in your community. So the wealth of information to help you really have a more visually exciting brick and mortar store. Thank you.